On the night of February 19th, 1994, an urgent call rang through the emergency department of Riverside General Hospital in California. Paramedics were racing to the hospital with a patient in dire condition. Her name was Gloria Ramirez, just 31 years old, a young mom of two, bravely fighting late-stage cervical cancer. Can you imagine the weight of that? It's hard to fathom, right? When she finally arrived, her body was shaking, her breathing was shallow, and her skin was drenched in sweat. The paramedics mentioned that she'd been talking in a jumble of words on the way, mumbling about her kids and home, almost as if she sensed that her time was slipping away. It's absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? You could feel the urgency in the air as everyone prepared to fight for her life, a palpable tension that made your heart race. But what happened inside that it would turn Gloria Ramirez from an ordinary woman into something the world had never seen before, a woman the media would later dub the Toxic Lady? The A-Team sprang into action, oxygen mask on, 4 lines inserted, monitors beeping like crazy. But almost immediately, something strange caught everyone's attention. The air around her felt heavy, thick. One of the nurses leaned over to draw blood from Gloria's arm and froze. The atmosphere shifted dramatically, leaving everyone on edge, wondering what was about to unfold. It was just the beginning of a mystery that would leave an indelible mark on everyone involved. There was this bizarre shimmer on the surface of her blood, like an oily sheen that caught the light in the strangest way. And then, oh man, the smell hit everyone. It was sharp and chemical, a mix of ammonia and something metallic, sweet yet rotten all at once. Seriously, it was so overpowering that a few staff members actually stepped back, their eyes watering as they tried to process what was happening. The nurse, still in shock, handed the vial to another technician. They lifted it to the light, confusion etched on their faces, and that's when the chaos kicked in. One nurse swayed and fainted right there. Another started gasping for air, trembling like a leaf in the wind. And the resident who'd been monitoring Gloria, he suddenly vomited and collapsed. Within minutes, the ER floor looked like a battlefield. Doctors and nurses sprawled out, disoriented and barely conscious, all caught in this surreal nightmare. The hospital was in full-on emergency mode. They evacuated the kicking out anyone who wasn't directly involved in trying to save Gloria. Just a small crew stayed behind, decked out in surgical masks, gloves, and whatever protective gear they could grab, all focused on keeping Gloria alive. But sadly, it just wasn't enough. At 8:50 p.m., they had to face the heartbreaking reality: Gloria Ramirez was pronounced dead. And that's when the real mystery began to unfold. Her body was sealed in multiple layers of plastic and stored in a special room while the coroner prepared for autopsy. But even then, the strange odor clung to everything: the walls, the stretchers, the clothes of those who'd been near her. 2 days later, at the coroner's office, when they finally unsealed the bags to examine her, the same toxic fumes filled the air again. One technician collapsed. Another began retching uncontrollably. The team had to abandon the room, sealing it off. It wasn't a normal death. It wasn't a normal body. Something inside Gloria was poisoning the people around her. The county launched a full investigation. The California Department of Health sent hazardous materials experts. They found no trace of toxic chemicals in the no leaks, no spills, nothing in the air system. The instruments used on Gloria were normal. Her four bags were uncontaminated. Everything pointed back to her. So what could cause a person's body to become toxic? The coroner's office tested her tissues. What they found was strange. Gloria's blood contained an unusually high level of dimethylsulfone, a compound that forms when the body metabolizes dimethyl sulfoxide DMSO, a solvent sometimes used as a home remedy for pain. It wasn't illegal, but it wasn't safe either. They theorized that Gloria had been using DMSO gel on her skin to ease her cancer pain. When she was given oxygen in the ambulance, the DMSO might have transformed into a more dangerous chemical dimethyl sulfate, a toxic gas that could poison those nearby. It was a wild hypothesis. No one could prove it. And it didn't explain everything. Why only that night? Why that specific reaction? Why did only certain staff members fall ill while others in the same room were completely fine? The hospital quietly shut down part of the for cleanup. The staff who'd been exposed developed chronic health problems, nosebleeds, muscle spasms, breathing issues that lasted for years. Some never returned to work. One nurse later sued the hospital, claiming they were covering up something bigger. Rumors spread fast. Some said the hospital had been experimenting with new sterilization chemicals. Others whispered that Gloria had been exposed to illegal nerve agents, and the hospital had tried to bury the truth. There were even claims that the coroner's office was hiding evidence after 2 of their own staff fell sick during the autopsy. In the end, the official cause of death was listed as cardiac failure due to cervical cancer. But the cause of the toxic reaction that affected over 20 hospital workers? Undetermined, and that's where the story of Gloria Ramirez turned into a legend that people still talk about today. Her family was adamant about rejecting the DMSO theory, calling it nonsense. They insisted Gloria wasn't the type to rely on home remedies. She was a warrior fully committed to her treatment and focused on her kids. They truly believed she was caught in something sinister, maybe an accident or even an experiment that went horribly wrong. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? To this day, no one knows for sure what killed Gloria Ramirez or what turned her body into something so deadly that even in death, she made people sick. The case was closed, reports tucked away, and these reopened weeks later like nothing ever happened. But let me tell you, the nurses who were there that night couldn't shake that eerie feeling. Even after scrubbing the walls clean, slapping on fresh paint, and getting shiny new equipment, they swore they could still catch a whiff of that sickly sweet chemical in the air on those quiet nights. It was like a ghost that just wouldn't leave, haunting their senses and reminding them of the chaos that unfolded. You know, it's wild how some memories stick with you, right? They'd find themselves glancing over their shoulders, half expecting to see the shadows of that night creeping back in. And that's how Gloria Ramirez became forever known as the toxic lady, a woman whose death defied science, whose body broke the laws of chemistry, and whose story still lingers in the corridors of Riverside General, like a toxic whisper that refuses to fade.